Okay, good evening, everyone. So my talk is going to cover on your actual write-up. That means not how you're going to present, because that's just been covered by Prof. Varavan and Prof. Shireen. Now the booklet which you bring, or the which for us to have a look when you actually come for your defense. So there'll be two guides which I will send out. Sorry, it skipped quite quickly. There are two guides, which is the guide from the postgraduate office, and then there's a supplementary guide to it, in which is which is like an additional information on what your format should be for your thesis. So I will email that around to you all after the talk. I will also show you roughly how it looks like, but this is the front page of it. So you are offered, I mean, just like the other programs under the faculty, you can actually have your thesis written up in 3 different formats, based after discussing with your supervisors, which is the most appropriate format for your specific thesis. Obviously, the usual conventional format. You can go ahead with the article style format, or if you've already published your work during the period of your within the period of your 4-year program, you can actually put in the published paper. I'm going to go to the next slide so you get a better idea of this. Okay, before I show you the format itself, there are variations in the word count for these different formats. Obviously, the published format needs less words, because you are just going to put in your published paper into the thesis, but you will need an introduction and a discussion and so forth, which I'll show you now. So in all 3 formats, you definitely need these sections, which in the front, your title page, the declaration. You will not need a Malay. So if you see in the original, for other theses, you need a Malay abstract, but for your program, you do not need a Malay abstract. You only need an English abstract. And after which you will acknowledge your supervisor, your support, and whoever has helped you, and whole lot of Prof. Yes.
Can anyone who's
you can't
not
hear me?
Yeah, can you all just mute yourself? The rest of you, a lot of background noise. Okay, right, Gowri, you can go on.
Okay, but you can hear me, right, Prof? Or it was a bit, or
yeah,
I am not clear. Okay, you can hear me.
It's just that there's a lot of background noise.
All right. So following that, at the back, if you have already published your work, or if you've presented your work at any kind of awards, or you've presented anywhere, that actually can come part of your pages at the back of your theses. Okay, and this is very important. If your paper is published or accepted and it's been published, you need approval and consent from your co-authors, because now, as well as approval from the publishers saying that you're using it as part of your thesis, they normally will give you the consent, but you have to attach that approval as part of your thesis. Okay. Next is, okay, so the conventional format is quite straightforward. I think everyone is quite aware of this format, where you have the introduction, literature review, method, results, discussion, and conclusion, and obviously references. Okay, so in the introduction is where you put your rationale, as well as you put in the whole lot of your research question, your objectives, and so forth. So it's kind of giving an idea of why your study is important. Literature review is the background. It's actually like a little mini guide, or guiding the readers on what the background information which is out there in your topic area. And then obviously you'll describe your methods and results. In terms of the article format, you actually have 2 different introductions, because so this chapter where it says article 1 is, say if you have already kind of have a pre-plan of what journal you're planning to submit to, you'll have it preset like as a paper which you're planning to submit somewhere, and that's what chapter 3 is. So how this is different, or a little bit helpful, it will help you reduce the word count, because you might not need to have a method section on its own. It'll be part of the paper itself. And the general introduction, as I've mentioned earlier, is the same thing. It's rationalizing your study. Like whatever you're going to put in rationalizing your study would be a general introduction. The introduction here would be exactly how you would write up in, you've seen published papers. So the introduction here would be like how your published paper would look like. And then you'll need to remember in your conclusion, you not only conclude your findings, you also can write up your like you write up your limitations of your study design and maybe all the recommendations of what can be done next. Okay. And then published paper format. I have already covered this when I said in the 2 slides before, but basically you still need to have a literature review. Okay. You'll put in your published paper with the author's approval, and then yeah, and so forth. And then and you might not need a discussion because it's already in your paper, but you definitely need a conclusion as I described earlier. Okay. Now, when it comes to binding, cover page, sorry, all of this information is important, even though it's quite straightforward. It is very important. Okay, is that there is very specific measurements. The reason being is that, and specific information is that it won't get approved otherwise if you don't have all of this information on your front page and follow the measurements which are required or the font size which is required. So do looking through the guides which I will circulate later, but this is the general highlight and part of it. This is the final print. This red book is the final print. Not when you come for your defense. For your defense, you'll bring basically the one set, loosely bound. You can hold it with just like a big clip, or if you want, you can actually put it in a ring binder, but we don't need for you to actually print it into this red book or any kind of hard bound copy or anything like that when you come for your final defense, because it's only after that where you actually send it for printing. For printing, you need 5 sets of this red book. This is after you've passed your defense, and you need a CD with all your information and title and so forth and what faculty. Okay. Now, in terms of referencing, unlike the faculty guidelines where you have to do APA style, which is an author date format, for your thesis, it's actually a numbered style. Following Vancouver style, actually very specifically, it's following the International Journal of Urology format, where you have to have the square bracket as well as you basically have to follow this in a superscript. But however, as long as it's a standardized format and you're not mixing up your formatting in your number, one where you have square bracket and the other one is a circular bracket and one is superscript and the other one isn't, and it's standardized, this is why we suggest for you to use EndNote so you don't have to worry about these things, it will be accepted. And obviously at the back, since it's number format, this is roughly how it should look. Okay, with the detail, the titles, and somewhat the year and volume number and page number. Tanya is going to cover this, so I'm not going to cover this much, but this is part of the guidebook. And I think Prof. Aravan has brought this up already, so I'm just going to skip this. It's just basically the 20% mark. Some highlights in terms of print, which I have noted from the guidebook, hoping that if I summarize in the slides, you would probably see this and do your formatting according to this. But the key thing which I want to highlight is your margin. So your left margin has to be 4 cm in the printed book, and this is because if you leave it at 2 cm, it is going to not, you in the especially the red binded book, your writing will actually end up going into you won't be able to see what you printed. Okay, and in terms of headings, this is quite straightforward. Use for chapter 1 will be 1.1, and if it's chapter 2 will be 2.1 and so forth. And table, each chapter starts with 2.1, table 3 3.1, so you don't actually go all the way like table 1 2 3 4 throughout across the chapters. It's within the chapters. Okay, and the same thing applies for the figures. And footnote, if there's such, this is how it should look like. It's because if not, you end up actually having it in the same size for some reason. And that's pretty much what I want to highlight in terms of formatting. I'm going to stop share because I've got something else to share, which is the guidebook. So just give me a sec. So this is the one which I showed you, which is from the faculty itself. So it's basically bits of this is what I highlighted to you. You probably need to, when it's sent to you, read it in detail. The other thing which I want to show you is the supplementary guide, where we have written up and we have actually defined certain things clearly for you, so you can actually follow this, and there's examples and so forth. And this is what I've used as well, part of the presentation. And the last thing I want to share with you is that there's actually a template but it's only for the conventional format, which is given by the faculty, and I will circulate that as well by email, which is a Word document which has already have a pre-formatted version which you can use. Um,
All this is available in the faculty website, right?
It's also available at the faculty website, except the supplementary guideline isn't. That's our own it's part of, it belongs to our department. Otherwise, everything else is available in the faculty website as well. So besides me, so you can just use their template which they've given. It's pre-filled, so you just fill it up. It's supposed to help you reduce time of formatting and so forth. So you can use their template, as you can see. So, but delete this page because you are not going to have as you said, as I said, this is in, or actually I think it's Prof. April who mentioned it's an English program, so you don't need to have the Malay sections. Okay, acknowledgement and so forth. So they have a preset um, for you. So I think I can stop share. I think you get the idea what I mean.